Please welcome Knowledge Keeper Louis Cardinal.
Well, good evening to everyone, esteemed members of the Parliament of the world's religions, dear participants, those here in Chicago participating live, and those participating online from all over the world. My name is Louis Cardinal. I am from the Woodland Cree from Treaty Number 8 in northern Alberta, Canada. As a communicator and educator, I have dedicated my life's work to creating and maintaining connections and relationships that cross cultural divides. It's in that spirit, and within my capacity as trustee and chair of the Indigenous Task Force for the Parliament of the World's Religions, that I am pleased to be here to moderate this important gathering this evening along with Zaya Guarani. Zaya.
Good evening, everyone, members and participants to the Parliament of the World's Religions. My name is Zaya Guarani. I was born and raised in an indigenous community in the remote Brazilian Amazon. And I belong to the line of the strong women from Camurap and Guarani Mibiai ethnicities, who have led their communities as both shamans and spiritual guides. Growing up in the Amazon, I shared the journey of many fellow indigenous. Running away with my mother and my grandmother, seeing the village being destroyed one after another by loggers and my relatives being killed or displaced, at the beautiful natural ecosystem surround being burned, not many people can imagine what is live it as a child and teenager in a constant state of fear for your life and the ones that you love. But beyond the destruction of our forest, what we are seeing is also the extension of a complex ancestral spirituality and the indigenous cosmovision away seeing the world. This is not separation between us and nature. I had the chance to be able to escape this violence in my life at the age of 15 when I earned a scholarship in Rio de Janeiro before entering art and fashion world by founding the first ever collective of creatives indigenous. This journey led me to become the first indigenous fashion model raised and born in the Amazon rainforest, in which I remain committed to be raising awareness about ongoing global struggle for indigenous rights and climate justice.
Thank you, Zaya. We gather here tonight for a special event called An Urgent Call to Protect the Amazon, an interfaith rainforest initiative dialogue with Indigenous leaders. The Parliament of the World's Religions is a founding partner of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, IRI, a United Nations convened alliance that is bringing moral urgency and faith-based leadership to global efforts to halt and reverse tropical deforestation and protect the rights of Indigenous peoples. As a part of this commitment, the Parliament and IRI are committed to fostering new relationships between religious leaders and Indigenous peoples, and to have you, the religious leaders from across the globe, learn and understand firsthand about the relationship between Indigenous spiritualities, traditions, and to protect our forests and protect our cultures, particularly in the Amazon. In service of this goal, today, we facilitate this opportunity for us to hear firsthand from Indigenous peoples about their struggles, their cultures, and spiritualities, as well as the shared moral responsibility across faiths to protect the Amazon and the rights and cultures of Indigenous peoples and traditional communities. During this event, we will hear from several of the Amazon's most prominent Indigenous leaders and draw links between the sacred wisdom and cosmologies of Indigenous peoples and the long-term protection of the world's forests.
The importance of this topic cannot be overstated. The world's rainforests are sacred trust and irreplaceable gift to the humanity. Having grown up in the rainforest, I have seen the endless generosity in this majestic ecosystem to support all living beings by providing water, air, medicine, food, and everything we need to live and prosper and in peace with nature. I have also seen and experienced in firsthand the violence and greed that is affecting the survival of the forest and the indigenous peoples that have lived in it for thousands of years. Maintaining their cultures, ancestral knowledge, and ways of life intact to benefit of their communities and humanity as well. We are seeing a global deforestation crisis, and respecting the indigenous rights has become more urgent than ever. In light of these urgencies, the incoming president of my country, Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, has just last week convened an Amazon Summit to the countries of the Amazonian countries for a new way of combining sustainable and development for the protection of the Amazon rainforest. This plenary session will offer us the possibility to learn more about the outcomes of the Amazon Summit, as well to the call that was issued by Interfaith Rainforest Initiative along with the religious leaders from Brazil, Colombia, Peru, to protect the Amazon and the rights of indigenous peoples. All of us here will have the opportunity to endorse and amplify this call, stand in solidarity with indigenous peoples and all people of good faith, and work together to safeguard our planet Earth.
Over the next 2 hours, we will cover the following important topics. First, acknowledging that we are gathered here in Chicago and where we are coming together on the traditional indigenous territories of the Potawatomi, the Odawa, the Menominee, the Ho-Chunk, the Paints-Kasau, the Wea, the Miami, the Meshwaki, the Iowas, the Illini Confederacy, the Oto, and the Missouri. We will start with a land acknowledgement from a local indigenous representative from the Potawatomi Nation. We will then hear opening remarks from an Amazonian indigenous leader, as we then hear an overview of the importance of rainforests and indigenous peoples' rights by Senior Advisor of the UNEP's Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, as well as the Minister of Indigenous Peoples of Brazil. And we will learn more about the ongoing work of IRI in the Amazon region, as well as the outcomes and the calls to action that were a part of the Amazon Summit. Afterwards, we will have a distinguished panel of indigenous leaders from Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador to learn more about their struggles and messages to the religious leaders of the world. This will be followed by a respondents panel of distinguished leaders from the Native American community and the global interfaith community. This then will allow us to conclude with a global prayer for the Amazon rainforest, a collective call to action, and a reception. With that, though, before we start this event, it's my great pleasure to introduce first the Iron Bear Singers. These powerful singers will do a welcome song to start our event, and then it will be immediately followed by Madeline Big Bear. And Madeline is a Bedouadami, or Potawatomi as we say in English. She's an Indigenous leader and a cultural bearer of her Indigenous nation in the Chicago area. She works with the Iron Bear Singers, which are led by Sterling Big Bear, Ponka, and Hunk Tawan, who serve as intergenerational knowledge keepers. Madeline will offer us a welcoming prayer and land acknowledgement after the welcoming song. So we welcome the Iron Bear Singers and Madeline. Thank you.
Miigwech, that welcome song was for all of you and everyone who's joining us from everywhere. This is my homeland. I am Bodwa-Wadami, and my people are the stewards of this land. And I welcome you. This drum welcomes you this evening. Ha bojo jayak, mano gish gutginwa, gish hab gishik and dashnakash. Bodwa-Wadami and Dow. Nishna Bakwa, Kaganik and Debin Douglas, Catherine Marsa and Gay, Madeline Augusta, Nok Sabin, Raymond Marsa, Mashom Sabin, Gay and Donis, in Nokmas Mina Kanoma Gawen, Bodwa Wad Mizach Gawen, Dwagik, Mjiganik, Indochbia, Nishnabekik, Ejadan. Gwiweed Monam Jack Chicago, Shawabzawat, Nuich Nishnabem Nanak. Hello, everybody. My name is Madeline Big Bear, and I just introduced myself and let you know who my territory is, who my people are, where I come from, and where I actually came from today. When we opened this event, I was asked to pray, and I was able to mention that my people, my family, had been here at the World's Fair at the same time that this interfaith of religions had started. 50 years ago, Vine Deloria wrote, "God is red." I feel like that's probably a starting point of most everyone here and your knowledge base of who we are as Indigenous people. In there, he referenced this territory, this Treaty of Chicago, this Illinois Treaty time. And I want to bring one of my ancestors' voice forward right now and speak words that are relevant to this Indigenous global cause today. I'm glad to be amongst people who find themselves with the right words and understand how these words would have come about to me today. Chief Matea, in 1821, so we're 200 years from these words now. A long time has passed since we first came upon our lands, and our people have sunk to their graves. They had sense. We were all young and foolish, and we do not wish to do anything that they would not approve. Were they living? We are fearful we shall offend their spirit if we sell our land, and we are fearful that we shall offend you if we do not sell it. This has caused us great perplexity of thought, because we have counseled among ourselves and do not know how we can part with our lands. Our Father, our country was given to us by the Great Spirit, who gave it to us to hunt upon, to make our cornfields upon, to live upon, and to make our beds upon when we die. Chief Mateo was killed. He was poisoned for not ceding those lands and not agreeing to cede any more of these lands in 1827. Nui Mad Moeno Doshipi. I'm going to pray now for those people and those ancestors that have been in this place before. Nishnabek, Igi Nishnabek. Those Indians that were here and those Indians that are here now. Miigwech memogosna na oda bemadza wen I indanwa maganak. Miigwech manado wech kasenyak manado wech makok manado wech kashatak. Miigwech manado wech bagasmok. Miigwech manado wech bamsagok I wech namkamgok. Miigwech chikama manado. Miigwech manado wech sach jawan. Miigwech manado wech kadasa jawan. Ina oda manogishka na oda Nishnabek, Minagi Nishnabek, Winnebago, Menominee, Peoria, Oto, Missouri, Pionkasha, Mascoutin, Sac, Fox, Meskwaki, Wyandotte, Wea, Miami, Shawnee, Kickapoo, Ojibwe, Gigabo, Odawa, and Iowa. Miigwech for allowing me this space here as the Bodwa Wadmi woman to share these words with you. How Iuso and Najmoyan.
Wow, beautiful prayer. It's my honor to introduce Chief Haoni, whose name is associated with the mystery and power of the Kayapa people of Brazil. For so many decades, Chief Haoni has provided leadership and inspiration for millions of people, and he has risked his life many times for this priceless world heritage. He is internationally recognized as a living symbol of fight for the preservation of the Amazon rainforest and the indigenous culture.
Mana yaga aringoro mai yaga mewari boiga na ba me ai me bajin pe yoi kot bajang kot baya mi mari na ba boine ya pungun iking gereja gume bakuni aben kot baga benya yani aben kot baga benji mana bone baga ben gume bakuni aben kot kangon bone baga bene pukane baga ben ge bo moya pulu du ba imagi kene ka mana me be ku be me ya pia ni ba me be ko kore yo me a yo pia gume ba ma be na be a ver ka ba kine ba yo ko kene me ne ba no me ne ba nyon me ka jin ba marwane gija me ba me kunia be maane puka me ko te bo aru kene no te mia go ne ka ben ge ja me ba ta ju kama ko me ga jin bo marwane yane Brazil kene puga nyoro ba me kam mo amene be me kuka mo me nge me kwa tui kama di ba tane ya ba ne ba ba me maki magan ba me maki ne ka bene ba ne po ya kana ba ne na biya yo ka ta o me na me ya ai ka te yu kru ro ne ai ka te kru ro ne ni be ke ya me ba ku ni ko ta yu na me ne mon tu kan ba ka mu me ma tin ka ji ngô rai kam te me ma na ka ji me te yo ma na ka ji na ba me ba ne ka bene ngô ne ka bene tam ne ya ne ba me marwane ne kam me puru kai gana ko ba me ka yo kai go pari pran kai gana ko aju anyu ba me mana ba me ai te amu kru na ju anyu me ma ba kam pi yo tu nyu ba ga mu ku te kre na te kraya jo ka ji ba me ba ne ka be ta ne ya.
Having heard from the powerful leader of the Kayapo people of Brazil, and one of the most important leaders of the Amazon, we hear a call, a clear call for mutual respect, solidarity, and support. The destruction of the rainforests and violations of indigenous rights, he says, is cause for great concern in order to live and leave a livable planet and peaceful existence for future generations. To get a better understanding of the importance to protect rainforest and indigenous peoples' rights, I now have the honor of introducing Dr. Charles McNeil. Dr. McNeil serves as the Senior Advisor on Forests and Climate for the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and the UN Environment Program, UNEP. Dr. Charles McNeil.
Thank you, Louis. Good evening to all of you around the world and in this room. Our way of life and even our very lives are now threatened by climate change and the loss of nature. Every day, we see the consequences of our pollution of the planet in terms of devastating droughts, fires, heat waves, floods, and extreme weather. Already with 1.1 degrees Celsius global temperature rise, changes to the climate system not seen for thousands of years are now occurring in every region of the world. The last decade was warmer than any period for the past 125,000 years. And we are witnessing the sixth great extinction event in the Earth's history, the first since the dinosaurs disappeared. Only this time, we caused it. We caused this due to our own unsustainable consumption and production patterns and an unfair and perverse economic system. 1 million of the world's estimated 8 million species of plants and animals are now threatened with extinction. And although fossil fuels remains the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions, we simply can't avoid the worst aspects of climate catastrophe without protecting our tropical forests, which were currently being lost at a rate of a football field every 6 seconds. If protected and restored, however, our tropical forests can actually help solve the climate and biodiversity crises in very significant ways. This is what tonight's event is all about. The Amazon is the single largest tropical forest in the world, covering nearly 3 million square miles, equivalent to twice the size of India. About 60% of the Amazon rainforest is in Brazil, and the rest is shared among the other 8 Amazonian countries. The Amazon is home to millions of species of flora and fauna, as well as over 2 million indigenous people from more than 400 different groups. The Amazon River Basin is one of the most critical elements of the Earth's climate system, acting like a giant air conditioner, lowering land temperatures, generating rainfall, and strongly influencing weather patterns both within and far outside the region. Through the process of transpiration, the Amazon pushes massive amounts of water into the atmosphere, creating enormous flying rivers. This water then falls as rain, providing around half of the region's rainfall. Clearing the rainforest interferes with this process, and just last week, Brazil's Minister of Environment, Marina Silva, reminded us that 75% of South America's entire economy depends on the rainforest's rainfall. The Amazon plays a vital role in fighting global climate change by holding an estimated 123 billion tons of carbon, which would otherwise be released into the atmosphere with very deadly consequences. Drivers of deforestation include mostly commercial activities like agricultural expansion for cattle ranching and cattle feed crops, as well as mining and logging. In fact, cattle ranching itself accounts for an astounding 80% of the loss of the Amazon. Over 90% of these deforestation activities in the Amazon are illegal. Since the 1970s, around 18% of the Amazon rainforest has been destroyed. And recent research shows that the Amazon rainforest is teetering on the precipice of a dangerous tipping point. If forest loss increases beyond the current 18% to between 20 and 25%, large areas of the Amazon could fall into an unstoppable downward spiral that would transform them from lush rainforest into grassy savanna. And the global implications would be profound, causing large-scale drying across the region. And this would have tremendous impacts on the world's climate and would cripple food production, hydropower generation, and human health and well-being for the region and the world. As a human family, tragically, we will not be able to achieve any of the global climate or biodiversity goals, not to mention our poverty reduction goals, if we lose the Amazon. Much of the destruction of the Amazon is driven from other parts of the world, like from right here in the US, from Europe, from China, when we import much of the Amazon deforestation in the form of beef or illegal logging or mining. That is why our own countries should enact supply chain laws like the new European Union law that outlaws importation of any beef or other products that could be linked to deforestation. And of course, each of us in our own lives should look at how we can reduce pressure on the Amazon from our own personal choices. Stopping or reducing our own beef consumption could be a good way to start. But the good news is that Brazil knows how to solve this problem, because between 2004 and 2012, it already succeeded in reducing deforestation by a staggering 84%. And Brazil did this while nearly doubling agricultural production and GDP, showing that we don't need to destroy more forests to increase food production. That's a myth. We're done with that. Brazil achieved this by creating and implementing public policies that attacked the structural cause of the problem. The solutions they implemented included: 1, enforcing forest laws; 2, offering financial incentives for forest protection; and 3, expanding protected areas with a special emphasis on creating indigenous lands. There is no need to deforest any more primary forest in the Amazon for livestock and agricultural production, because there are thousands of square miles of already deforested lands that can be used for those purposes. And we will hear from our next speaker, there is good reason to expect that Brazil will soon return to these effective policies to significantly reduce deforestation in the Amazon. The United Nations also understands that to protect and sustain the Amazon and other tropical forests, we must recognize the rights of the indigenous peoples who have been responsibly stewarding these forests for centuries, thanks to the distinct culture, traditional knowledge, and spirituality. In the Amazon, deforestation rates are much lower in legally recognized indigenous territories than in other lands. But indigenous peoples are being targeted with attacks and violence for protecting their lands. And as we will hear from our speakers, this must stop. The UN also recognizes religious leaders and faith communities as essential partners in solving our environmental crisis. And we are collaborating with all faiths through the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, a UN program that the Parliament co-founded in 2017 with other partners here in the Parliament. Through this work, leaders of the world's religions are coming together with leaders of indigenous peoples in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, perhaps for the first time in 500 years, to create an extraordinarily powerful and inspiring new coalition to protect forests. This should give us all great hope, and tonight's program is an expression of this growing partnership. Now let me introduce you to our next speaker, the distinguished and honorable Sonia Guajajara, the current Minister of Indigenous Peoples in the government of Brazil. Minister Guajajara was appointed by the recently elected President Lula da Silva, and she is the first indigenous person to serve as a minister in Brazil's government. Sonia Guajajara was born in the indigenous land of Araraioboia in the state of Maranhão and is a member of the Guajajara Tentahar people. Her fight for the recognition of the rights of indigenous peoples led to her selection by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Sonia helped launch the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative at the Nobel Peace Center in Norway in 2017 and has been such a strong advocate for this work in Brazil and around the world ever since. Sonia represented Brazil in last week's Amazon Summit, and she sent us this video just a few hours ago from deep in the Amazon, where she is right now with President Lula. In this message, she brings us news from that summit and how we can help her and her people to protect the Amazon and their way of life. Thank you.
Olá, senhoras e senhores, estimados membros do Parlamento das Religiões do Mundo. Hoje me dirijo a vocês com um sentimento de imensa gratidão, reconhecendo a importância deste espaço, deste plenário, que o Parlamento proporcionou para expressar as preocupações dos povos indígenas do coração da Amazônia. Seu compromisso inabalável ao longo de décadas com a promoção de diálogos e da compreensão entre as diversas religiões e tradições é uma fonte de inspiração para as pessoas no mundo inteiro. A relação entre o respeito aos direitos indígenas, especialmente os direitos aos nossos territórios ancestrais, e a preservação da floresta amazônica é inegável. Nossas terras prosperam há séculos sob os cuidados de nossas comunidades indígenas, nutrindo um equilíbrio delicado entre o ser humano e a natureza por meios de nossas culturas e conhecimentos tradicionais. Ao defendermos nossos direitos, não apenas protegemos nosso modo de vida e nossos lares, mas também garantimos a preservação contínua da Amazônia como fonte vital de vida para todo o planeta e para toda a humanidade. No entanto, enquanto nos reunimos aqui, não podemos esquecer que os povos indígenas enfrentam ameaças e intimidações constantes no Brasil e em toda a bacia amazônica. As pressões incessantes de interesses econômicos e políticos ligados a indústrias extrativistas, pecuária, agricultura, mineração, projetos de infraestrutura, extração ilegal de madeira e tráfico de drogas continuam a corroer a estrutura de nossas comunidades e nosso meio ambiente natural. O desmatamento em todo o Brasil disparou entre 2019 e 2022, durante o governo do ex-presidente Jair Bolsonaro, sendo a pecuária a principal causa. Lembremos que a destruição da Amazônia não é uma questão somente brasileira. Também é uma responsabilidade nos países consumidores, como União Europeia, o Reino Unido ou a China, que precisam promulgar leis sobre a cadeia de suprimentos para garantir que a carne que importam seja produzida sem causar desmatamento. Diante desses desafios, tenho o prazer de compartilhar um vislumbre de esperança. Nova administração do Brasil testemunha uma redução de 42,5% nas taxas de desmatamento em relação ao ano passado, com políticas e compromissos dedicados sendo colocados em ação para combater o desmatamento e alcançar o desmatamento zero até 2030. A criação do Ministério dos Povos Indígenas pelo presidente Lula e seu convite para que eu assumisse a responsabilidade por esse ministério significam um marco no reconhecimento de nossos direitos e preocupações, junto com a forte atenção que dedicou ao combate à crise humanitária do povo Yanomami, por exemplo. É uma prova do seu respeito e compromisso com a nossa causa. No entanto, a urgência de proteger a Amazônia e apoiar os povos indígenas na defesa de nossas terras exige uma frente unida de forte apoio e solidariedade. É uma luta difícil e é nesse contexto que o Parlamento das Religiões do mundo desempenha um papel fundamental. Todos os líderes religiosos e comunidades de fé em todo o mundo que incorporam os princípios de paz e de boa vontade, também de compromisso, representam um farol de esperança para apoiar nossa luta pela proteção da natureza. É por isso que tenho muito orgulho de ter participado da fundação da Iniciativa Interreligiosa pelas Florestas Tropicais, o IRI, em Oslo, ainda em 2017, junto com o Parlamento das Religiões do Mundo. Desde então, tenho acompanhado o trabalho globalmente e, como membro do Conselho Consultivo da IRI Brasil, e isso me enche de um sentimento de orgulho e responsabilidade. E ao ver que os esforços no Brasil, Colômbia e Peru estão dando frutos, o IRI agora atua como um forte parceiro no apoio aos governos amazônicos para a implementação de políticas que protejam esse ecossistema inestimável, a Amazônia e seus povos. Na semana passada, o chamado à ação da IRI teve forte repercussão em Belém durante a cúpula amazônica. Essa convocação, endossada pelo meu Ministério dos Povos Indígenas, bem como pelo Ministério do Meio Ambiente do Brasil, do Peru e Colômbia, está muito alinhada com as decisões resultantes da cúpula amazônica. Esse momento decisivo apresenta uma oportunidade para que o Parlamento das Religiões do Mundo se una também, né, e também adote esse apelo urgente para proteger a Amazônia. Ao fazer isso, também imploro aos membros das religiões do mundo que não apenas responsabilizem os governos amazônicos, mas que também lutem contra os padrões insustentáveis de consumo e produção no norte global, que impulsionam o desmatamento na Amazônia. As políticas e práticas estabelecidas em seus países podem estar causando diretamente danos irreversíveis à Amazônia e aos nossos lares. Este é um espaço em que as religiões do mundo devem se posicionar como educadoras e mobilizadoras, orientando seus seguidores para escolhas responsáveis e defendendo o desenvolvimento sustentável. É hora dos governos, bancos e empresas de investimentos assumirem seus papéis no combate a essa crise de desmatamento tropical. Para encerrar, estendo minha mais profunda gratidão ao Parlamento das Religiões do Mundo por seu apoio e compromisso inabaláveis. Juntos temos o poder de provocar mudanças duradouras, proteger a Amazônia e garantir os direitos e dignidade à cultura dos povos indígenas e comunidades tradicionais. Vamos permanecer unidos com nossos corações e mãos entrelaçados, reflorestando mentes para um mundo onde a Amazônia e seus povos floresçam. Muito obrigada.
Such an honor to hear United Nations and our first ever Minister of Indigenous Peoples of Brazil about the importance of saving the Amazon. It is so important that we can have hope of saving this forest and support our indigenous cause. Just last week, our next speaker, Carlos Vicente, participated in the Amazon Summit, and he is leading the work of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative in Brazil. Carlos has over 34 years of experience in roles with the Brazilian government to protect the Amazon, including as advisor of the Minister of Environment, Marina Silva. Thank you, Carlos. The floor is yours.
Good evening. First of all, we want to congratulate all indigenous and religion leaders present here, and also express our joy in being able to participate in this important meeting where so many wonderful people are gathered to seek to advance in building a civilization based on love, peace, and the right to living well for all human beings and all other species who share with us the privilege to live in this amazing planet. The Interfaith Rainforest Initiative was created as an international multi-faith alliance to bring moral urgency and faith-based leadership to global efforts to halt and reverse tropical deforestation. In IRI operates in Brazil, Colombia, the Republic of Democratic of Congo, Indonesia, and Peru. 5 countries that contain more than 70% of world remains rainforests. The initiative focuses on 3 axes of changes: education, awareness, and communication with religion leaders, mobilize faith-based and spirituality-based actions, advocates for government to adopt, fulfill, and expand their commitment to protect tropical forests and the rights of indigenous people. At the global level, IRI has mobilized a declaration and agenda for actions that has been endorsed by more than 1,000 of the world's most important religion leaders from 125 countries. Brazil has around 60% of the Amazon biome and a mostly religious population. In a recent study of 26 countries around the world, Brazil and South Africa stood out as the nation with the highest percentage of people who believes in God or in a higher power, 9% of the population. Faith in a higher being influences every aspect of people's lives in Brazil, from individual choices to politics, education, and the economy. Around 50% are Catholic and 30% are evangelical. Evangelical are growing very quickly, and it is estimated that they will be the majority of the Brazilian population by 2030. A large portion of religious people supported the previous presidents, who greatly encouraged the devastation of the Amazon rainforest and the violation of the rights of the indigenous peoples. IRI Brazil has developed a methodology to dialogue between scientists and religious leaders, not just Christian, but from all tradition and spiritualities, with very promising results. We have created a loving and welcoming environment so that leaders can understand the climate emergency, the urgency of stopping the destruction of the Amazon rainforest, and understand the importance of defending the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities. We have worked with all ideological and all political diversity. And even among the climate deniers, we have gotten good responses. More than 90% of them have engaged in environmental actions. We have also used metaverse technology to raise awareness among religious people, public authorities, politicians, young people, and entrepreneurs. We created the film Amazonia Viva to take people on an immersive experience inside the Amazon rainforest. Our aim is to help people develop an emotional contact with the forest and its inhabitants, even in a virtual way. We would like to invite all of you to visit us in the booth on the climate sector to visit it, to have this experience. Around 80% of the Brazilian population lives in the cities, and most people have no contact with the forest and are deprived of developing a strong feeling of love and care for it and its peoples. We have also created communication strategies based on the religions precepts of the different religions, mixing scientific information with guidelines for engagement. We work in a strong partnership with most of the interfaith initiatives operating in Brazil and have created a very effective learning and cooperation environment. Last week, we held a joint event between Brazil, Colombia, and Peru to influence the outcome of the Amazon Summit. We were honored to have the broad participation of religions, communities of the Amazon, as well as the Minister of the Environment of Brazil and Peru and the Minister of Indigenous of Brazil, Sônia Guajajara. We produced a strong document with proposals to solve the structural problems that are causing deforestation and exacerbating the climate crisis. But our challenges are huge. We have little limited time to save the Amazon, and we can no longer continue to live with the violence to which indigenous people are subjected. We need more support to expand the impact of our work, reaching as many leaders as possible over the next 3 years. We would like to thank you, all the religious leaders in Brazil, Colombia, and Peru, and the other countries that are helping us to make this important effort to create a future for everybody. Thank you so much.
The majority of people in the Amazon have a religion or spirituality that they follow. The sacred duty to care for nature and people is a value that unites us all. Imagine millions of people from different religions, traditions, united around one purpose: to be allies and defenders of the Amazon. The Interfaith Reinforced Initiative is mobilizing religious leaders, scientific organizations, social and environment entities, indigenous peoples, and the United Nations to join forces to end deforestation and the fight against climate change, and to defend the rights of indigenous peoples and traditional communities. Acting now is a profound ethical and spiritual priority. Current development models based on the predatory exploitation of the Amazon's natural resources and the violations of the human rights have to end. A new model of an economic, environmental, social, and cultural sustainability is needed to realize peace and prosperity for the Amazon and its people. The Interfaith Reinforced Initiative is working in Brazil, Colombia, and Peru to create an interfaith movement that contributes to this change with actions that have already reached millions of people. We raise awareness in religious communities about the urgency of halting deforestation and addressing the climate crisis. We aspire to creating a new environmental citizenship, one that is committed to the protection of forests and the environment. We bring the forest close to the people and make them aware what is important.
Uma experiência muito bonita, muito emocionante, porque é uma experiência de uma beleza tão grande e o que toca no coração é pensar como a gente pode destruir uma beleza dessa.
We also train religious leaders, equipping them with scientific knowledge about forests and climate change, so they can contribute to the restoration of the Amazon ecosystems, the preservation of biodiversity, and the protection of forest defenders, so they pass this knowledge on their own communities.
A oportunidade oferecida pela IRI de estabelecer um diálogo positivo e construtivo entre religião e ciência tem sido muito valioso.
The Interfaith Reinforced Initiative has an extensive network of local action coalitions in regions where the forests face the greatest threats. We are building an innovative movement across the Amazon, cultivating a new consciousness among the population about the importance of acting individually and collectively to protect forests.
Trabajamos para facilitar el diálogo y la cooperación, así es como juntos actuamos por una Amazonía sostenible en las regiones que más lo necesitan.
We mobilize religious leaders to influence environmental legislation and public policies for the Amazon at the local, regional, and national levels to encourage public authorities to adopt, enforce, and expand up their commitments to protect the region and its population.
Estamos creando conciencia para el cambio, aportando nueva influencia para exigir políticas que protejan el bosque a largo plazo.
The Amazon is at a crossroads, a serious moment of an existential proportions that requires nothing less than a transformational change, bold leadership, and deeper cooperation. We are the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. We bring the unique influence, mobilizing power and reach of religious leaders to bear on efforts to realize a sustainable Amazon. Participate and support IRI. Partner with us, because without the Amazon, there is no future.
It is very inspiring to learn that religious leaders and communities are engaged in mobilizing their communities and resources to support Amazon protection and working alongside Indigenous peoples and their essential stakeholders to do so. Now is the time. We heard it, we know it, we feel it, and we are in a position to make a change. The Parliament of the World's Religions is extremely proud to be a co-founder and strong supporter of this work of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, and is looking forward to, at the end of this event, echo along with all the religious leaders and people of faith here with us the call to action made at the Amazon Summit. Before doing so, it is important for us to get a deeper understanding of the Indigenous views, struggles, and beliefs that underpin the guardianship of these majestic rainforests, and humble ourselves to stand in full solidarity with their struggle. Let us hear more from the leaders across the Amazon basin in Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador.
Thank you, Lewis. Indeed, it is so important to hear directly from our Indigenous brothers and sisters from the Amazon. It's now my pleasure to introduce you Benki Pianco. Benki is a prominent Indigenous spiritual and political leader of the Ashaninka people in Brazil. He has dedicated his life to advocating for Indigenous rights, especially regarding land, heritage, traditional knowledge. Benki was chosen as an Ashaninka shaman by his grandfather and initiated many reforestation, education, and community projects in his village and close-by areas. He is now known and respected all over of the world about his great work. Through his Yorienka Tisorense institution, he has planted over 2.5 million trees, focusing on ecological restoration in the Amazon.
Olá, primeiro quero aqui agradecer ao Grande Espírito. Eu me chamo Benki Pianco, sou uma liderança do povo Ashaninka, moro aqui na fronteira do Brasil com o Peru, no município de Marechal Thaumaturgo, sou presidente do Instituto Yorienka Tisorense. Quero agradecer a todas as religiões do mundo, que hoje estamos compartilhando esse momento tão oportuno de poder fazermos essa integração sobre os nossos conhecimentos. Nós, povos indígenas, grandes defensores de toda essa floresta tropical da Amazônia, assim também quanto todos os povos indígenas que também se integram à defesa de todas essas florestas do planeta. Quero também dizer que hoje é o momento de nós olhar para aquilo que está acontecendo no planeta Terra. Esse momento de nós, povos indígenas, as religiões do mundo, termos esse diálogo de poder conversar sobre o que devemos fazer para o futuro desse planeta, também se fala do futuro da humanidade. Porque é agora que devemos olhar para todos os procedimentos que estamos vivendo, da destruição da terra, do consumismo humano, dessa grande devastação do planeta que traz essas mudanças globais, climáticas, que ofende diretamente a quem está na floresta, a quem está nos mares, a quem está nos rios e a quem está na cidade. E estamos fazendo aqui, dizendo de que não é tirando os minérios da terra, não é tirando a floresta, não é tirando o petróleo, não é contaminando as águas, não é dizendo que somos mais ricos, porque ninguém vai comer dinheiro. Uma das coisas que quero fazer essa pergunta ao mundo: o que devemos fazer agora para mudar? Você, eu, tem que tomar responsabilidade. Nós, seres humanos, que somos hoje os que estamos na responsabilidade na frente de deixar o futuro dessas gerações num compromisso. Que nós precisamos fazer uma reflexão. Porque hoje é a hora. A seca cada dia aumenta. O calor cada dia aumenta. A água todo dia some. A poluição do ar cada dia deixa mais doença sendo levada ao mundo. Está tudo seco. Olha para a terra. Olha para a floresta. Olha como está tudo morrendo. Olha para os rios. Olha para os mares. Está tudo morrendo. É homem morrendo de sede, morrendo de fome. Todo mundo morrendo. E você tem que tomar responsabilidade. Nós temos que tomar essa responsabilidade. Porque hoje a gente vê que essa PEC que está sendo composta pelo governo brasileiro, pelos deputados federais, de criar uma lei que tira os direitos dos povos indígenas. Quando se tira o direito dos povos indígenas, cria um genocídio contra os princípios da vida dos nossos povos indígenas. Cria a exterminação da floresta amazônica. Cria a exterminação de todos os povos do mundo. Porque quando se fala de floresta, quando se fala de tirar os direitos das terras dos povos indígenas, se fala de matar a Amazônia, se fala de matar o planeta. Porque nós temos ainda uma floresta viva, nós temos ainda uns guardiões vivos. Então eu gostaria que todas as religiões do mundo ficassem atentos a isso. Não só por essa Amazônia, mas por todas as florestas. Plantem a floresta. Plantem a semente. No lugar de soltar bomba para matar gente, soltar bomba de semente. Desde dentro dos corações, da alma, das mentes. E assim eu estou vivendo hoje, mostrando à humanidade a responsabilidade que eu carrego. De plantar uma árvore, de cuidar de uma semente, de nascer uma planta e de gerar fruto para mim comer. Porque assim Deus fez, assim Tassorense fez. E é assim a responsabilidade que cada um de nós temos agora, quando olhamos para essa fragilidade dessa mudança global que leva a tudo a um novo tempo de fragilidade. Também aqui quero agradecer às organizações interreligiosas pelas florestas tropicais do mundo, que hoje chama atenção pela Organização das Nações Unidas, chamando a sociedade, incluindo os povos indígenas também, como os mensageiros da terra. Dentro desse processo de orientação à humanidade, da cura mental, da cura psicológica, da cura espiritual e da consciência da integração daquilo que a natureza sempre nos deu. Então aqui deixo essa mensagem, chamando todas as religiões mais uma vez. E agradeço a todos que estão nos ajudando e a todos que estão querendo a incorporar esse mesmo espírito de estarmos juntos, se respeitando com o mesmo sentimento. Qualidade de vida para todos os seres vivos da Terra.
Quality of life for all living beings on Earth. That is really what we are talking about here. And clearly, indigenous peoples all over the Amazon are passing through a lot of struggles and maintain their lands and forests alive. As Benki said, we cannot eat money. And he's calling on all of us to take responsibility for the future of our planet by working together in the same spirit. Let's keep his message in our hearts and minds and listen our next speaker, Patricia Galinga, who is with us in person today. Patricia is dedicated advocate for human rights and land rights. She comes from Kichawa community of Sarayoko in Ecuadorian Amazon. Her life mission has been to protect her people from violations from oil exploration and militarization. She was a central witness in an important case before the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, which protects her community in Sarayoko. Patricia has received multiple global awards and now leads the Amazon Women Collective in Ecuador. She is accompanied by Karen, who will translate for her. Welcome, Patricia.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Empezaré diciendo que el conocimiento y conexión sagrada de los pueblos indígenas con la naturaleza son milenarias. La naturaleza para los pueblos es sagrada.
I will start by saying that the knowledge and connection of the indigenous people with nature is sacred. Nature for the indigenous peoples is sacred.
Por eso siempre se ha respetado y se ha convivido en armonía con ella. Ahí está la esencia de nuestra existencia.
And that is why we have always respected and lived in harmony with nature. That is the essence of our existence.
Hay que entender con claridad por qué hay pueblos que luchan y entregan su vida por cuidar los territorios.
We must understand with clarity that this is why indigenous peoples have fought and have given up their lives to take care of their territories.
Esta relación con la naturaleza es incomprendida por los gobiernos y las empresas en la Amazonía, quienes han explotado los recursos sin ningún cuidado y no quieren escuchar las voces de los pueblos indígenas.
This relationship with nature is incomprehensible for the governments and the corporations in the Amazon, whom have exploited the resources without care and have not listened to the voices of the indigenous peoples.
Nuestros sabios o yachaks hace muchos años que ya vienen advirtiendo que destruir la Amazonía implica un riesgo global para toda la humanidad.
Our wise people, our yachaks, have for many years warned us that the destruction of the Amazon implicates a global risk for all of humanity.
Ahora también la ciencia lo advierte, pero los gobernantes y las grandes empresas no lo están escuchando.
Now also science is warning us, but the governments and the corporations are not listening.
La Amazonía está llegando a un punto de no retorno. Si esto ocurre, la humanidad también llegará al punto de no retorno en todos los sentidos.
The Amazon is reaching a point of no return. And if this happens, the humanity will also reach a point of no return.
Porque se habrá destruido la fuente del conocimiento. Se habrá destruido la fuente de las energías, buenas que mantienen el equilibrio. Todo habrá sido destruido.
Because the destruction of the fountain of knowledge would have been destroyed. The fountain of the good energies that maintain equilibrium would have been destroyed, and everything will have been destroyed.
Mi papá, don Sabino Gualinga, un yachak que falleció hace un año, me decía que la fuente de las curaciones de las enfermedades es la energía de la naturaleza.
My father, Sabino Gualinga, who was a yachak who passed away a year ago, would tell me that the fountain of healing of the illnesses is the energy of nature, that everything is living.
Nuestro ser físico es naturaleza. No podemos autodestruirnos.
We are made of nature. Our physical being is made out of nature. We cannot self-destruct ourselves.
Nuestro espíritu, eso sí viene de lo alto de la creación. Pero si destruimos la tierra, destruimos lo físico, que nos permite estar aquí con nuestro espíritu. Los dos están conectados.
Our spirit, that does come from the Most High of creation. But if we destroy the earth, if we destroy the physical that permits us to be here with our spirit, we will destroy ourselves. The two are interconnected.
Yo vengo desde la Amazonía de Ecuador. Mi pueblo es Sarayaku, el pueblo del mediodía.
I come from the Amazon of Ecuador, from Sarayaku, from the peoples of the midday.
Nosotros hemos luchado contra empresas extractivas, petroleras y logramos expulsarlas.
We have struggled against extractive oil companies, and we have forced them out successfully.
Otros pueblos siguen luchando contra empresas madereras, mineras, petroleras y otros agentes que siguen destruyendo la Amazonía, no solo en Ecuador, sino en toda la cuenca amazónica.
Other indigenous people continue to struggle against logging and mining company and other agents who are destroying the Amazon, not just in Ecuador, but in all the Amazonian basin.
Haciendo un análisis de todo esto, pueblos como Sarayaku lanzaron la propuesta de la selva viviente.
Making an analysis with all of this, the indigenous peoples of Sarayaku have spearheaded a proposal of the living forest,
tratando de generar una conciencia que valore los conocimientos de los pueblos indígenas.
which tries to generate a consciousness of the value of the knowledge of indigenous peoples.
Selva viviente es la búsqueda de que la selva sea considerada y reconocida como un ser vivo, consciente, sujeto de derechos.
The living forest is a search that the forest be considered and recognized as a living being that is subject to his own rights.
Esto implica romper los paradigmas existentes y tener la humildad de aceptar que el modelo existente está cometiendo un atentado a la esencia de la vida.
This implicates to break paradigms and to have the humility to accept that the existing model of paradigm is committing a threat against the essence of life.
Todos estamos interconectados y nuestros ecosistemas están conectados por hilos invisibles a otros espacios vitales, haciendo que fluya la vida que genera vida.
We are all interconnected, and our ecosystems are interconnected by invisible threads to other vital spaces, making the flow of life and generating life.
Todos necesitamos apoyarnos, unirnos y hacer una sola fuerza, ser aliados en la lucha por la vida.
We all need to support each other, to unite, and be one force, be allies in the struggle for life.
Cuidar la naturaleza como fuente de vida y espiritualidad no solo es responsabilidad de los indígenas, es responsabilidad de todos.
To take care of nature as a fountain of life and spirituality is not just the responsibility of indigenous peoples, it's the responsibility of all of us.
La creación es una obra divina del Altísimo. La humanidad no tiene derecho de destruirlo. Sí, todos tenemos derecho de hacer uso de manera respetuosa, pero no de destruirlo.
The creation is a divine work of the Most High. The humanity does not have a right to destroy it. It has a right to make use of it in a responsible, respectful way, but not to destroy it.
Hago un llamado a todos ustedes para unirnos en esta lucha desde nuestros lugares de origen.
I make a call to all of you to unite in this struggle from our different places of origin.
El ecosistema amazónico como fuente de vida de los pueblos que le están defendiendo, quienes hacen un llamado a actuar, a defender el futuro y a defender la vida del planeta.
The Amazonian ecosystem as a source, as a fountain of life of the indigenous people who are defending it, are making a call to act, to defend the future, to defend the life of the planet.
Por último, solicito sus oraciones y su compromiso para toda la Amazonía como fuente de vida, pero específicamente para este día domingo, que en mi país se hace una consulta popular para dejar el petróleo bajo tierra en el bloque del Yasuní y dejar la minería, no explotar más la minería en el Chocó andino. Muchísimas gracias, cuento con sus oraciones y estamos unidos.
Lastly, I ask for your prayers and compromise for all of the Amazon as a source of life. And specifically this Sunday, in my country, there will be a referendum to leave the oil under the ground in a place called Yasuni and to say no to mining in the Choco Andino. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your compromise.
Many thanks to Patricia for coming all the way from Serayaku community in Ecuador's Amazon. And to share that inspiring message with us today. Let's keep that in our hearts and carry that with us as we make our way back into the world. The courage and the strength it takes to face a future of uncertainty with hope is a true gift for us all. So I thank Patricia for sharing that with us today. Now we have the pleasure of hearing from our indigenous relatives in the Colombian Amazon. The Union of Indigenous Yaji Medics of the Colombian Amazon, UMIYAC, was created in 1999 and includes 5 indigenous groups from the Colombian Amazon rainforest: the Inga, the Cofan, the Siona, the Coragaje, and the Kamsa Bia peoples. They work to preserve the Amazon rainforest and to revitalize and protect their cultures and ancestral medicinal practices. They are spiritual authorities, medicine men and women of knowledge, and their role is to ensure the health of their territories and the physical and spiritual well-being of their communities. Alison Mojomboy and Miguel Evangelnoy are their representatives, and despite not being able to be with us due to the difficulty of obtaining a visa to enter the United States, they are sharing their message with us by video.
Alpa mamata, taita indi, pai pai pai, nuka kani, selva amazónica. Yaku mama, alpa mama, taita indi, pai pai pai.
Saludar a todos, muy buenas tardes. Soy Irmalicia Mojomboy. En estos momentos estoy acompañando a la organización de Unión de Médicos Yajeceros de la Amazonía Colombiana, UMIYAR. La importancia sobre la relación de la espiritualidad con la selva amazónica es muy profunda, muy estrecha, puesto que nuestros ancestros nos han enseñado milenariamente a cuidar nuestra Amazonía colombiana a través de las plantas medicinales y de diferentes espiritualidades. En la Amazonía existimos diversidad de pueblos indígenas originarios y practicamos diferentes medicinas como el mambe, el yagé, en este caso yo soy indígena inga y nuestra espiritualidad es desde la planta sagrada del yagé. También hay otras medicinas, prácticas culturales como el ambir, la yuca dulce y otras prácticas culturales. La relación es tan profunda y tan fuerte desde las fuerzas de la naturaleza porque existen diversidad de plantas medicinales también están cuidando los espíritus mayores de nuestros ancestros, los espíritus y los amos de cada planta medicinal, de cada ser vivo de los animales, como el jaguar, la boa, el duende. Ellos son los cuidadores también de la Amazonía colombiana, en este caso de la selva amazónica. Nuestros ancestros nos han dejado este legado y todas las culturas estamos siguiendo Nucanchipañambi, decimos en nuestra lengua, nuestros grandes caminos. También decimos la casa grande a nuestra selva amazónica. ¿Por qué? Porque en la casa grande es donde está toda la vida. También es nuestra madre tierra. Tiene una relación la espiritualidad con la selva amazónica, como si colocamos un ejemplo como la madre y el hijo, ¿no? Entonces nuestra madre tierra también en nuestra lengua inga le decimos alpamama. Significa esa estrecha relación donde nuestra madre tierra nos brinda alimento, nos brinda la vida, nos brinda la educación propia, nos brinda todo lo que en ella existe. Y por eso nosotros los pueblos indígenas, sin territorio, pues no podemos vivir. Asimismo, no solamente los pueblos indígenas, sino también la humanidad.
Chisiapuangui, muy buenas tardes. En primer lugar, saludar al Parlamento Mundial de las Religiones que se está realizando en Chicago. Mi nombre es Miguel Evanjuanoy Chindoy, soy miembro de los pueblos originarios del pueblo Inga de Colombia. Vivo en el territorio ancestral de Yunguillo, en el municipio de Mocoa, departamento del Putumayo. Vengo acompañando al proceso organizativo de la Unión de Médicos Indígenas y Agenceros de la Amazonía Colombiana. En este espacio queremos compartir la palabra, queremos dejar el mensaje de paz, de unidad y de amor hacia los diferentes pueblos del mundo. La importancia de la espiritualidad de los pueblos originarios que milenariamente hemos venido protegiendo, cuidando, luchando, los derechos de la vida, los derechos de la madre tierra, que es importante para la vida de todos los seres materiales e inmateriales, seres visibles e invisibles. Entonces, nosotros desde acá, desde las selvas amazónicas, estamos invitando a todos los pueblos, a todas las autoridades tradicionales, de que busquemos esa unidad, de que busquemos esa fuerza, de donde todos con esa conciencia limpia, con ese amor, con esa confianza, protejamos, ayudemos a proteger las selvas amazónicas, porque es la vida, es el pulmón del mundo que prácticamente está en riesgo por las diferentes empresas que nos están amenazando, por las diferentes compañías, por los intereses también de los gobiernos que quieren intervenir la vida de los pueblos indígenas. La guerra, el hambre, la corrupción, sí, y esos intereses de los estados, de las empresas nos están matando a los pueblos que habitamos en las selvas amazónicas, quienes cuidamos, quienes protegemos a través de la espiritualidad que los abuelos, las abuelas practican, la espiritualidad basada en las plantas sagradas medicinales, en especial para los 5 pueblos de la organización, la Unión de Médicos Indígenas y Agenceros de la Amazonía Colombiana, es el yagé o ayahuasca. Entonces, esa es mi gran invitación para que nos unamos y también invitar que el Parlamento Mundial de las Religiones se haga en espacios donde podamos participar los líderes y lideresas de todos los pueblos del mundo. Muchas gracias.
Many thanks to Miguel and Alicia and the Union of Indigenous Yaji Medecs of the Colombian Amazon for having prepared this beautiful message for us. We can hear your call for unity, love, and solidarity to protect the Amazon, and your work to safeguard the rainforest. Your traditions and cultural practices are an inspiration to us all. We sincerely hope to have you with us during the next convening of the Parliament of the World's Religions, and send our warmest greetings and appreciation to you from Chicago. So please allow me now to welcome to stage Dayara Tucano. Dayara's community, the Tucano people, come from the upper Rio Negro in the Brazilian Amazon. She is an indigenous artist, activist, educator, and communicator. Graduated in visual arts and in human rights, and she has researched the right to memory and truth for indigenous people. She dedicates her life's work to maintaining and raising awareness about the culture, history, and traditional spirituality of her people. Welcome, Dayara.
Good afternoon. I'd like to ask the permission and the blessing of the originary peoples from this land. The permission of the blessing of this beautiful lake that is outside, the sacred waters, the forest, the mountains, each living being of this land. My name is Dayara. I come from a place that is so beautiful. I come with a message that was passed by my father and my grandfathers. When my grandfather was a kid, he could jump in the river and play all day long. He could drink from the water of that river. And in the forest, we have all the food we need to live. And it's really delicious. I'd like to say that everybody is invited to go there and know our home. But you know, as it was said before in this stage, our land one day was invaded. And today we are facing a disease caused by the poisoning of our water, our air, the poisoning of our beliefs. I was listening to one of my grandmothers, one of my northern grandmothers, and she told me right now, listen, my granddaughter, when you speak, try to speak to the Creator. So I asked the Creator, please, to blow lightly the winds, to clear our minds, to release the clear water in the rains and the river, to heal our hearts from all the sadness of the past, and give us the strength to build by our own actions the opportunity of taking care of life in this planet. Indigenous territories held more than 80% of biodiversity around the world. And the only way to really protect the Amazon and protect the forest is to stand along with indigenous nations to allow us to keep practicing our culture, our language, our spirituality, because we know the name of each tree and animal in the forest. In my nation, those are all people. We say Wai Marsan, the people from the waters. We say Urta Marsan, the people from the rocks. Yuka Marsan, the peoples from the forest. Nyorkwa Marsan, the peoples of the stars. So we can dialogue with all the wisdom that is within nature. And we know that in every religion, this nature, this creation, is the true divinity. It is the proof of the existence of life that is so rare in the universe. So let's take together care of what is divine. And let's enjoy the opportunity of being alive together, clearing our heart, clearing our mind, and seeding love for the next generation, standing as good ancestors today, ancestors of the forest that will be reborn if we work for that every day. Thank you so much. Annyeonghaseyo.
Wow. Thank you so much for your powerful words and presence here, Dayara. We are very honored to have you with us, and thank you for having traveled all the way from Brazil to share your truth and powerful action for us. We continue in Brazil as we will now hear from the Chief Mapu. Mapu is a young spiritual leader and musician of the Hunikuin people. He was born in Kaxinawa, Ashanika indigenous land in Rio Breu in Brazil. He is also the founder and president of the Huancaru Yushibu Center. Let's listen from him.
House. Primeiramente aqui eu quero agradecer o grande espírito que nós chamamos Pacuxipá. Eu me chamo Mapu Hunikuin, sou do povo Hunikuin daqui da Amazônia, onde nós somos espalhados em 6 regiões do estado e somos cerca de 16 mil habitantes. O povo Hunikuin, ele tem uma conexão muito grande com a natureza, porque nós já vem da natureza, nós se cria dentro do meio da floresta. Então o povo indígena ele tem uma conexão com a floresta, com as plantas, com os rios, com a terra, com os pássaros, com os animais, com o ar, com tudo, com a água, com o céu, com o sol, com a lua, com a estrela, com o vento. Tudo isso faz parte de cada um de nós. Aquilo que a gente não consegue ver, a gente consegue ver através de conexão com essas plantas sagradas. Então para nós se considera que nós também somos uma floresta. Por isso, a nossa ancestralidade está ligada com a natureza. Então a gente vem lutando pela preservação do meio ambiente e da floresta, porque é lutar pela vida de todos nós. Na nossa criação, na nossa história, na nossa origem, ela traz que cada povo ele tem um dom de conexão com o grande espírito que é o Criador. Outros falam Deus, outros falam Jesus, outros tem vários nomes. Então hoje o povo Hunikuin ele está se preocupando muito porque está entrando uma grande quantidade de religiões que não é da nossa cultura, dentro das aldeias, das terras indígenas, que está realmente tirando o nosso direito de a gente viver como nós estamos vivendo. Do nosso modo, na natureza, em paz, né, com a nossa família. As pessoas chegam, estão aterrorizando, falando que a nossa cultura não é de Deus, falando que a gente não vai para o céu, que a gente não vai se salvar, falando que nós não podemos realmente praticar nossas práticas, fazer a nossa fogueira, cantar, dançar, alegrar com a nossa família e agradecer a Mãe Divina, que é a Mãe Terra, agradecer o Criador. Isso para nós é uma grande ameaça que hoje o povo está enfrentando. Desde o primeiro contato que teve, o nosso povo foi queimado, nossos líderes espirituais foram queimados no fogo, dizendo que não fazia prática de Deus. E até hoje a gente ainda enfrenta isso e a gente evoluiu tanto. E eu, como líder espiritual, eu respeito todas as religiões, todos os segmentos, porque eu sei que é criação divina, é criação, é obra do Criador que criou tudo isso aqui. E todos nós fazemos parte. Que neste momento nós precisamos se unir e dar as mãos e se respeitar. Eu convido a cada um de vocês que venham conhecer a nossa cultura para vocês entenderem melhor. E que a partir de agora nós não podemos permitir jamais esse tipo de invasão, esse tipo de atitude que vem agredindo o conhecimento sagrado do nosso povo. A gente sempre vive em paz. E a gente não quer guerra. A gente não é melhor. Mas nós temos paz no coração e consciência dentro de cada um de nós e lutamos pela vida de todos, porque todos que nós estamos nesse planeta, nós estamos num barco só e estamos só de passagem. Aqui nós não viemos para julgar ninguém, viemos para cuidar a criação divina e respeitar ao nosso próximo, respeitar o segmento e conhecimentos que existem nessa terra. Então, para nós, isso é uma grande ameaça. Isso está sendo uma grande ameaça das indústrias madeireiras nos nossos territórios. Está sendo uma grande ameaça do marco temporal que está para aprovar, para poder invadir os nossos territórios, para as indústrias madeireiras entrar, para as minerias entrar, para as petroleiras entrar, destruir as nascentes, a natureza, destruir a floresta, acabar com todo o oxigênio, tirando o nosso futuro, tirando o futuro das futuras gerações que estão vindo, acabando com tudo. Daqui a pouco a gente não vai conseguir viver mais. Então eu convido de coração aqui a cada um de vocês essa compreensão, esse entendimento, essa aliança, esse respeito, essa consideração, que todos nós somos irmãos, todos nós somos uma família só. Não importa aonde quer que nós estiver, mas todos nós somos irmãos e nós devemos respeitar o próximo. E eu convido a cada um de vocês de coração que nós possamos fazer ação e que possa ter mais respeito sobre os povos originários. Auxe, auxe.
Dear participants and members of the Parliament, we have now heard the voices of Indigenous peoples and leaders from all over the Amazon. We can feel and understand that they share a profound concern for the survival of their homes, their cultures, and traditions, as well as a desire to come together in unity, peace, and solidarity with the religious leaders and faith communities of the world to protect this vital ecosystem called the Amazon. We have also learned more about the ongoing work of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and our ongoing commitment to foster a new relationship and alliance between the world's religions and the indigenous guardians of the Amazon. Now, we would like to invite to the stage two respondents who will speak from their distinct perspectives about their observations on the shared commitment and moral and ethical imperative we have to act and protect the world's rainforests for the benefit of future generations and the well-being of our families and communities living on this beautiful earth. We will first invite to the stage Mona Polaka. Mona is a distinguished Hopi Native American spiritual elder. She is renowned for her lifelong dedication to Indigenous rights and social justice, and she is a key figure in the Native American revitalization movement. She continues to foster impact through her involvement in the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, and she is a senior fellow at the Center for Earth Ethics.
First of all, I'd just like to give thanks to Muslim Ho, Bakuba, Kathika Optic, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this time. I'm grateful to stand before those of you that are here and to hear this message of message of hope, actually. It's a message of hope because what it does is it creates because, you know, when we talk about being relatives, being brothers and sisters, that means we come from the same blood. We come from the same blood through our connection to the earth, our mother, through our connection with the water, our mother water, the water we lived in our mother's womb, and the water that we depend on each and every day. And our connection to the sacred fire, or the sun, and our connection to all of the things that come from all of these divine creations that give us life. We eat of the earth. And each and every one of us, we have a place that we originate from. Our relatives in the Amazon, this is the place where the good Creator and Mother Earth put them there. They know no other home. As my dear, beautiful, wonderful granddaughter, De'Ara, said, it's their relationship with everything within the earth as well, their roots. And when I'm saying all this about these good relatives in the Amazon, I'm also talking about you. These good relatives, they know how to live there. They know their medicine that they need whenever they need a special medicine that will take care of them. And they know the beautiful foods and wonderful foods that give them life there. They know about their relationship with the animal life, the four-legged, the winged, the ones that live in the water. And if myself, I look at that, and I myself personally have experienced the aliveness of the Amazon rainforest. But you can experience it all around you here even. But this is their home. They don't have anywhere else to go. And the good Creator gave that home to them. How is it that our man-made laws are determining who shall enjoy the pursuits of life, of freedom, of their spiritual practices and beliefs? Who is that? Why is it that way? Someone can determine the destination of another complete people who have been making this place their paradise. And they have kept it in good order as far as I can see. They have followed what we indigenous people call the original instructions. And so they're in a position now, sending this message out and asking for us all to come to their aid, because what they're doing isn't just for them. Our whole existence is related to the outcome of the decisions that are being made about the lands, waters of our Amazon relatives. So I just wanted to say that much to you. Thank you for listening, and blessings to our good relatives who made a long trip to be here. I send my prayers over there with these relatives that couldn't be here. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much for your powerful words, Mona. What an honor to have you with us, inspiring our hearts and minds for this sacred mission. We are here to protect the planet and nature, and to respect and value the wisdom traditions of indigenous people. Now it's my honor to introduce Rabbi David Rosen to the stage. Rabbi David Rosen is a former chief rabbi of Ireland and currently special advisor to the Abrahamic Family House in Abu Dhabi. He holds numerous positions related to interfaith dialogue and cooperation, and has received many prestigious awards for his contributions to interfaith relations. Among others, he is the international president of Religions for Peace and founding partner of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. I want to welcome Rabbi David Rosen.
Thank you very much. And my congratulations to all of you who are still sitting patiently after 2 hours. It is a great honor for me to be able to represent Religions for Peace at this important event. I am very proud, as you have heard, to have been in part and parcel of the original launch of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative in Oslo in 2017, and to have accompanied its work since, and to have played a part in facilitating the endorsement of the IRI program by the World Council of Religions for Peace in Lindau in 2019. I wish to express our gratitude, and I presume to say the gratitude of the enlightened world, for the Parliament of the World Religions facilitation, providing this platform for the voice of the Amazon indigenous peoples. I want to express the gratitude of the world, of those who are consciously grateful and of those who are not yet consciously grateful, of the enormous contribution of the indigenous peoples to preserving our planet, to sustain it through their love of the rainforests and the cultures associated with it, to which they have shown such amazing, inspiring dedication over thousands of years. We are all the beneficiaries of this love, this devotion, and this dedication. I wish to apologize for those of us who are the victims of our greed and of civilizational greed, who have shown a lack of sensitivity, sensibility, of responsibility for the indigenous peoples, who have contributed so much to us, and as a result of that insensitivity, we ourselves have posed a threat to the well-being and the flourishing of all creation. Religions for Peace is privileged to have pioneered the Rainforest Initiative and joins with the Parliament in a call to the world to preserve respect for the rainforest and the indigenous peoples and their cultures that live within it and preserve it. And we issue from here a call, especially to religious traditions who claim to revere the cosmos as the manifestation of the divine, to place this concern for the well-being of the indigenous peoples and the rainforests and their contribution to all of us as among their highest of priorities. Religions for Peace will be honored to sign off on the call for action in this regard. Let me conclude by referring to one of the most beautiful visions amongst the many beautiful visions of the prophet Isaiah of an era of universal peace. Isaiah 55 verse 18 declares, "When you go forth in celebration and you shall be led in peace, the hills and the mountains shall burst forth in joy and happiness, and the trees of the field shall applaud with joy." We may understand this verse to say the following: living in joy and true peace can only come about when the hills, the fields, the trees can celebrate as part and parcel of a genuine restoration of harmony and of well-being in our world. May this be fulfilled speedily in our days. Amen.
With many thanks for the powerful, important statements of our respondents, and having heard the Indigenous leaders share their perspectives, we can hear the clear calls to support the protection of the Amazon as a top moral and ethical priority for all of humanity, and particularly the religions of the world. We have heard, among others, the following key messages and related priorities. The Amazon is a vital ecosystem that provides clean water, air, oxygen at continental scales. It is a majestic and infinitely generous ecosystem, a real gift to humanity. The Amazon is in danger of reaching a tipping point due to deforestation, which would have global consequences on water and food security, as well as exacerbate climate change in ways that humanity cannot afford. This deforestation is mainly caused by commercial activities, many of them illegal, like cattle ranching and cattle feed crops, mining and logging, as well as infrastructure, which is intrinsically related to global unsustainable consumption and production patterns, as well as an unfair and misdirected economic system. The indigenous peoples of the Amazon have lived in the forest for thousands of years and have developed distinct cultures, traditional knowledge, and spirituality that allow for the safeguarding of the rainforest. They are essential guardians and stakeholders in global efforts to stop deforestation, and 80% of the world's remaining biodiversity is located within indigenous lands. We have heard that each of us hold responsibility to educate and mobilize ourselves and our communities, as well as to support the adoption and enforcement of public policies that support the protection of rainforests, indigenous rights, and sustainable development. We have heard clearly from the UN, the Brazilian government, as well as indigenous leaders from the Amazon basin, that you, the religious leaders of the world, along with your communities, are essential partners and allies to protect this vital ecosystem and work hand in hand to do so.
We also learned about the work of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. Our United Nations program is mobilizing religious leaders and faith communities in the Amazon and beyond to work with indigenous peoples and many sectors to protect the rainforest and indigenous peoples' rights. We learned that just last week, Interfaith Rainforest Initiative issued a powerful call to action to the governments of the Amazonian countries, which offers a strong platform for the religions of the world to build on. After our prayer together, we invite you to listen to this call to action, which can be endorsed by us here together in recognition and support of this vital mission to safeguard the Amazon. We have also heard about an extremely dangerous law being passed in Congress in Brazil right now, for which we, the indigenous peoples, are really afraid it will take away the rights to our lands for which we have through for many decades. The petition against this law, known as PL 2903, can be signed and together.org. As I ask that you can do, please sign and share this petition with your communities, friends, and family. We put up a QR code here that you can use your phone and please share.
And as we move to our closing prayer and call to action, let me extend our deepest gratitude to all the speakers and participants here with us and watching from all over the world. We are particularly grateful to the partners and organizations that have made this work and event possible, starting with the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative of the UN Environment Program. For the Parliament of the World's Religions, it is an honor to be a founding partner and active supporter of the work, along with the organizations such as Religions for Peace, the World Council of Churches, Green Faith, and the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology. We also want to thank the Indigenous Medicine Conservation Fund, or IMC Fund, for their active collaboration and support in making this event a reality. As well as we extend our deepest gratitude to the Little Treehouse and the BOA Foundation for their generous support.
Above all, we want to thank the indigenous peoples who are generously share their time and words with us for their vital work to protect the communities in the Amazon rainforest. Thank you, Chief Hauni and Hauni Institution. Thanks to Sonia Guajajara, the Ministers of Indigenous People in Brazil. Thank you, Benki Pianco and the Yorenka Tisorense Institution. Thank you, Patricia Galinga and the Amazon Women Collective. Thank you, Miguel Evan Huanoy and Alicia Monhuboy and the Union of Indigenous IRI Doctors of Colombia Amazon. Thank you, Dayara Tucano, and all the work you and your community. Thank you, Mapu Huni Queen and Hawakaru Yushibu Center. Thank you, Mona Polaka and the Center for Earth Ethicals. And thank you all indigenous peoples in the world who are fighting to keep the forests alive, the waters clean, and the air pure for our children and families. We are profoundly grateful for your leadership.
Dear participants, we kindly invite you to a reception after the event, but first we will invite you to join us in prayer and hear our call to action to protect the Amazon, live from the Parliament of the World's Religions.
For our prayer, we would like to invite all the indigenous leaders present to join us on the stage, as well as the speakers and respondents of this event. Dayara will offer to guide us in prayer, and we invite everyone to pray with us to share our love, light, and peace to the Amazon rainforest, its people, and all living beings in it.
Hanyu-masan, we are here all standing together as children of the earth, originary peoples, indigenous peoples from this land, united in the love of the beauty of creation. And I'd like to invite everyone to close our eyes and remember the first sound we heard in the womb of our mother, the heart of our mother, our heart, the sound of the sacred waters of the great-grandmother of the universe, the sacred waters that originate life in every river, in every lake, in every ocean, and reunite together in this ocean of creation, in the emotion of gratitude and respect to life and every nation. Unite with the divine creation. It doesn't matter the name we give it. So we salute all the nations and all the spiritualities. Baka Baka, baka, datara kumaga, ate are, ate re, umeka are, ate re. Kapikuya, Wayomere, Wayomeri, Wayomeri, Kapikuya, Diawaya, Diawaya, Wayomeri, Diawaya, Diawaya, Wayomeri, Kapiku, Kapikuya, Wayomeri, 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 Kapikuya, So this prayer is to salute the sacred waters of this beautiful land and the sacred waters that run free in our veins. So the water can run free around the world with the message of love, health, freedom, prosperity to all the nations. Thank you very much. Anyu.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the light of this spirit of prayer and unity, please allow me, as chair of the Indigenous Task Force of this Parliament, to read out loud our collective call to action as we bring our event to a close. Please listen to see whether you can stand in solidarity with this call to action. We, leaders gathered for the Parliament of the world's religions, offer this urgent call to action for the Amazon and the indigenous peoples and traditional communities who serve as its guardians. We do so in solidarity with the indigenous peoples and traditional communities who call the Amazon home and who are at the forefront of the efforts to protect their lands and territories, and informed by the scientific and research community warning of the desired consequences of the continued destruction and degradation to the Amazon. Recognizing that the Amazon is the world's largest rainforest with the richest biodiversity on the planet and home to some 30 million people and over 400 indigenous peoples. Knowing that halting and reversing destruction of the Amazon is essential to contain the climate and biodiversity crisis that threaten our planet. Understanding that protection of the Amazon requires the protection of indigenous peoples, respect for their cultures, traditions, and spiritualities, and legal security for their lands and territories, and acknowledging that we have a viable platform for action on these issues in the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, and recognizing the recent call made by the partnership at the Amazon Summit. Therefore, we commit to take action to raise awareness and promote teaching about the seriousness of the deforestation and the spiritual imperative and urgency of acting to protect forests and the rights of indigenous peoples in the Amazon. 2, assist our respective places of worship, communities, and organizations to take action to bring our networks to bear to encourage deforestation-free lifestyles and business practices. 3, advocate for governments and public authorities of the Amazon to commit a zero deforestation by 2030 and prevent threats to indigenous environmental defenders. And 4, advocate for governments and foundations of industrialized countries to mobilize the financial resources and investment that is needed to realize the vision of a healthy Amazon. We share a conviction that our voices, spiritual resources, and common commitment can bring new and needed urgency to the critically important work of protecting the Amazon and its guardians over the long term, and to place ourselves at the disposal of achieving that goal. Esteemed members of Parliament, we thank you deeply for your prayers and commitment and invite you to stand in solidarity with this call to action. We also warmly invite you to join all the speakers in a reception at the end of the hall, where we can share precious time together and reflect on what we've learned this evening and what we will do to help. Thank you. Good evening.